Today is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, and this is Read Through the Bible.
And welcome back, Yvonne.
Thank you.
And you've been on quite a whirlwind of a trip.
I have. It was
Where,
quite exciting.
Where'd you go?
Why'd
you go?
I went with Chris and Caleb, and we went to New York City and Connecticut, and I went along because Theodore, the baby...
6 months old.
6 months. Actually 5 months.
5 months?
But
okay.
I was babysitting him during the wedding because Chris and Caleb were photographing the wedding. And so I got to babysit Theodore all day on Saturday.
Okay.
But we went a few days early, went to New York City and saw lots and lots of things.
What'd you see?
Brooklyn Bridge, Empire State Building, Times Square, Central Park, Statue of Liberty. We went on the island. Ellis Island, we went on the island. We went to the top of the One World Trade Center, the tallest building in North America.
You did say that was pretty cool.
That was really breathtaking. And then we saw the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. That was really intense. Really, really, really good, though. Okay. So... lots of things.
Okay, and you came back, we're recording this on Monday night. You came back last night.
Our plane landed about midnight.
It was supposed to land about 9 o'clock. Hey,
yep.
no big deal. It was delayed a couple hours.
Late.
Yeah, and got delayed, and you also then had long time taxiing, and you had
lost
baggage.
Luggage. It didn't make the connection.
Yeah, so you had to sit in line for that a lot, and so it was finally, it was
like 1:15 when we left O'Hare.
Yep, and so we got to bed last night about 12:30.
2:30,
and so it was super late, and
then today's been just a busy day of trying to catch up because
on Tuesday, like when you're hearing this, we are going to be off on a big adventure.
Yep, and we're going to just wait and tell you about that tomorrow.
Yeah, so tune in tomorrow so you can hear that. Okay, so today we are going to read 2 chapters, Deuteronomy 14 and 15.
Yep.
And again, like Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 7 and 8, the first 11 chapters of Deuteronomy are speaking about just what a great God we have, who's gracious to us and patient and has given us all this good land. And then what a great law we have because we have such a great God who's given us such a law. So this sounds a lot like Leviticus chapter 11, the eating laws, the first part of it does.
The ESV titles are pretty good.
Yep, and by the way, again, this is back to Leviticus. Don't sweat the small stuff. These are what the Jewish people could and couldn't eat, mostly so they would be distinct from the peoples. So they wouldn't be like the pagan nations. They would just eat differently, so they wouldn't really associate with them, was the idea.
Yep. Okay. Chapter 14, verse 1. You are the sons of the Lord your God. You shall not cut yourself or make any baldness on your foreheads for the dead. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God, and the Lord has chosen you to be a people for his treasured possession out of all the people who are on the face of the earth.
You shall not eat any abomination. These are the animals that you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roebuck, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep, every animal that parts the hoof and has the hoof cloven in two and chews the cud. Among the animals you may eat. Yet of those that chew the cud or have the hoof cloven, you shall not eat these: the camel, the hare, and the rock badger, because they chew the cud but do not part the hoof and are unclean for you. And the pig, because it parts the hoof but does not chew the cud, is unclean for you. Their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch.
Of all that are in the waters, you may eat these. Whatever has fins and scales, you may eat. And whatever does not have fins and scales, you shall not eat. It is unclean for you.
That's sort of like no
lobster, no shrimp.
Yeah, bummer. Verse 11, you may eat all clean birds, but these are the ones you should not eat. And most of these are like scavenger birds, I think just to make sense. You don't want to eat like dead carcasses that go into these birds.
Right.
The eagle, the bearded vulture, the black vulture, the kite, the falcon of any kind, every raven of any kind, the ostrich, the nighthawk, the seagull, the hawk of any kind, the little owl, the short-eared owl, the barn owl, the tawny owl. There's 4 different kind of owls there. The carrion vulture and the cormorant. The stork, the heron of any kind, the hoopie and the bat. Whatever the hoopoe?
Hoopoe,
I guess. Whatever that is. And all winged insects are unclean for you. They shall not be eaten. All clean winged things you may eat, like crickets and grasshoppers.
Like John the Baptist.
Like
right?
that, yep.
Okay, verse 21. You shall not eat anything that has died naturally. You may give it to the sojourner who is within your towns, that he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner. And where it says you may give it to the sojourner.
Here comes the song again. Okay, go ahead.
It's a song, Slugs and Bugs, but it says you may give it to the alien, and it's just a really funny song. Yeah, He's not a very picky alien. Okay. You can give it to the alien. So, okay, anyway, we can link that, right?
We will link that on the show notes,
okay.
Yep.
So, middle of the verse. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk.
Nope. Okay, so there's the eating laws. If you want more details about that, Leviticus 11 tells you more of the details. But Jesus, in Mark 7, declared all foods clean. So as Christian believers in Christ, this is the Jewish regulation that's no longer binding on us. But if you just get a sense that the Jews had to eat to be different, is the idea. Like Leviticus, you should be holy, you should be separated, set apart. And this is what a great God gives us, such a great law, and this is the law they gave.
Yeah, another time the foods were declared clean was in Acts 10, right? When Peter saw the vision with the sheet.
Yep. Meaning that even Gentiles are clean as well. Okay, you shall tithe all the yield of your seed that comes from your field year by year. And before the Lord your God, in a place that he will choose to make his name dwell there, you shall eat the tithe of your grain, of your wine, of your oil, and the firstborn of the herd and the flock, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. And if the way is too long for you, I think the way is too long for you to bring it to Jerusalem, the place where he's going to have where you bring your tithe, so that you're not able to carry the tithe when the Lord your God blesses you, because the place is too far from you, which the Lord your God chooses to set his name there, it's in Jerusalem. Then you shall turn it into money, and bind up the money in your hand, and go to the place that the Lord your God chooses, and spend the money for whatever you desire, oxen or sheep or wine or strong drink, whatever your appetite craves, and you shall eat it there before the Lord your God, and rejoice, you and your household. And you shall not neglect the Levite who is within your towns, for he has no portion or inheritance within you. And so this tithing, I think it's a tenth, but the idea is sort of a tax to support the Levites in the priestly ministry duties. And so this is kind of to keep the government going, is what it is, a 10% tax to not forget the Levite.
At the end of every 3 years, you shall bring out all the tithe of your produce in the same year and lay it up within your towns. And the Levite, because he has no portion or inheritance with you, and the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow, who are within your towns, shall come and eat and be filled, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands that you do.
Yep. So there's another tithe. Every 3 years, you have another tenth that you give. And so we're up to, that's basically 3% every year, so we're up to 13%. And also there's another tithe also that's demanded, like the temple tithe that's demanded. So it's like 23.5% every year. So people say you need to tithe. And again, I don't think this is binding on believers because we're not supporting a tax structure with the church. But if you're going to tithe, it's 23.5% is what you need to tithe.
That was the Old Testament.
Old Testament
standard,
tithe, yeah.
Right?
Okay, so there. I think you said the ESV titles are pretty good. The clean, unclean food, and tithes, that would be very legitimate, what you can put. Okay, we got chapter 15. And this, again, the ESV title is really good. The Sabbath year. Every 7 years, there's like this year of forgiveness and freedom and restoration of poor people and slaves and debts. Like it really just helps set things right every 7 years, like a reset year.
Yeah.
And at the end of every 7 years, you shall grant a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor shall release what he has lent to his neighbor. He shall not exact it of his neighbor, his brother, because the Lord's release has been proclaimed. Of a foreigner you may exact it, but whatever of yours is with your brother, your hand shall release. But there will be no poor among you. There will be no poor among you. Because you're going to provide for the poor. And every 7 years you're going to reset and really going to help them, is the idea. For the Lord will bless you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you for inheritance to possess, if only you will strictly obey the voice of the Lord your God. Be careful to do all this commandment that I command you today. For the Lord your God will bless you, as he promised you. And you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And you shall rule over many nations, but they shall not rule over you. Because the borrower becomes a lender's slave. So therefore, don't borrow from people because you'll be a slave of the nations, but you can lend to them so they become slaves of you.
Verse 5 is interesting, though. It just gives that qualification there. If only you will strictly obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do all this commandment. Verse 7.
So the first one has to do with debts, right? Every 7 years you deal with debts, and now this has to do with poor people.
Okay, verse 7. If among you one of your brothers should become poor in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you, I don't know how that goes with verse 4, because verse 4 says there will be no poor.
Because here are the poor people, you're gonna take care of them in the 7th year and even before, and so you're gonna be so caring for these poor people that there won't be a poor person. Is the idea.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Verse 7. If among you one of your brothers should become poor in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother, but you shall open your hand to him and lend him sufficient for his need, whatever it may be. Take care lest there be an unworthy thought in your heart, and you say, the 7th year, the year of release, is near, and your eye look grudgingly on your poor brother, and you give him nothing, and he cry to the Lord against you, and you be guilty of sin. You shall give him to him freely, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give to him, because for this the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in all that you undertake. For there will never cease to be poor in the land. Therefore I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy, and to the poor in your land.
Right. So on the one hand, there will be no poor, but on the other hand, there will never cease to be poor, but the poor are there to be able to have the Israelites give to them so there aren't poor anymore. And particularly, right, even every 7 years, their debts are restored, and you just need to be careful that you don't use that 7th year here like, oh, it's coming close, I don't need to do anything now, because in the 7th year it'll take care of it. No, you care for them right away. If your brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, is sold to you, he shall serve you 6 years. In the 7th year you shall let him go free from you. And when you let him go free from you, you shall not let him go empty-handed. You shall furnish him liberally out of your flock, out of your threshing floor, and out of your winepress, as the Lord your God has blessed you, you shall give to him. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. Therefore I command you this today. But if he says to you, I will not go out from you, because he loves you and your household, since he is well off with you, then you shall take an awl, and put it through the ear into the door, and he shall be your slave forever. And to your female slave you shall do the same. And it shall not seem hard to you when you let him go free for you, for at half the cost of a hired worker he has served you 6 years, so the Lord your God will bless you in all that you do. So here's just, if people are in slavery, it's sort of like an employment agreement, if you will. Like they're going to come and be employed, you're going to care for them for 7 years, and then you let them go. And if they love the employment, they'll just stay in that employment forever, because you're going to put an earring in their ear. And it just even speaks here about how their cost is half, because they're trading security for lower wages.
Verse 19, all the firstborn males that are born of your herd and flock you shall dedicate to the Lord your God. You shall do no work with the firstborn of your herd, nor shear the firstborn of your flock. You shall eat it, you and your household, before the Lord your God, year by year, at the place that the Lord will choose. There's that place again. But if it has any blemish, if it is lame or blind, or has any serious blemish whatever, you shall not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. You shall eat it within your towns. The unclean and the clean alike may eat it, as though it were a gazelle or a deer. Only you shall not eat its blood. You shall pour it out on the ground like water.
Okay, we will see you tomorrow as we set off on our great adventure.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.